Throughout this lesson, we've talked about the concern of not knowing if health information or advice is in fact accurate. When using search engines, social media, or even members-only communities, it's always important to assess accuracy when it comes to health information or advice. So the final part of this lesson will help answer the question, how do you know if online health information is accurate? Given the sheer amount of information out there on the internet, it can be overwhelming to determine what is truthful and what is not. There are many guides that offer suggestions for how to assess accuracy of online content, and I've narrowed this advice down to 3 simple categories: website design, author or source credibility, and quality of content. The following slides will provide guidelines for what each of these categories mean. These guidelines are primarily informed by the work of Sabafy and Rowley, who conducted research on assessing accuracy of online health websites in 2017. The first category is website design. Now, all of us, when we look at a website, we get a sense of whether we trust it or not. Sometimes we don't always know why, because it can be an automatic reaction based on various characteristics of the website. For instance, if you're looking to purchase a fitness wearable and a web search takes you to a page that has blurry images and font that changes size or type throughout the page, you'll probably exit out of that screen fairly quickly. That's because the design of the website can offer insight into the trustworthiness of the content. One of the first things to look for is the domain name. Is the name appropriate for the site content? Also, does it have an extension that offers credibility, like .gov for government sites or .edu for academic sites? Second, is the author or source of the content clearly stated? It's even better if the author has their job title or credentials listed with their name. Third, what does the branding and logo look like? Is it appropriate, high quality, and consistent throughout the site? Next, take a look at the photos and graphic designs. Are they appropriate and high quality? As mentioned in the example, the font and formatting can be a dead giveaway for a fraudulent or low-quality site. So look to see if it's consistent and professional looking. What about the navigation of the site? Is there a clearly defined menu with the names of the pages within the website? Is it intuitive to navigate? Do all of the links bring you to the right page? Or are there broken links that lead to a 404 error page? Lastly, when you try to scroll or click on a link, is the transition an appropriate speed? Some sites that are poorly designed or that contain security issues can lag and take a long time to transition. Next, are the policies for the site transparent? Meaning, do they clearly list their privacy policy, copyright, or disclosure of any endorsements? Lastly, if there are advertisements on the website, are they relevant to the content? Is there an appropriate amount, meaning there's not too many crowding the page? And are they quality advertisements from reputable companies? Next, let's look at the author or source's credibility. First, see if you can find the author's education. Do you see any degrees, certifications, publications, grants, or awards? Are these credentials appropriate for the content of the site? Meaning, the author may have an MBA from Harvard, which is impressive, but if they're trying to discuss medical procedures and have no medical background, then their content is not directly aligned with their credentials. Next, see if you can find the author's experience. This can include years that they've worked in a field, jobs that they've held, or talks or projects that they led. See if this experience is relevant to the topic of the content. You can also look at their social media presence. What platforms are they on? Is there consistency in their postings across sites? Meaning, do they post professional content on Facebook, but then inappropriate content on Snapchat? Also, what is the tone or type of message on these social media platforms? Next, see if you can find how many followers the person has. This can indicate the support that the individual has in the community. But it's also important to know who these followers are. As many of you probably know, it's fairly easy to purchase followers or even likes on social media sites so that companies or individuals can easily increase their numbers without getting real people to follow them or like their content. So if you recognize anyone who follows them, take a look at who they are. For instance, a food blogger may have Khloe Kardashian following them, which is impressive and offers high visibility of their postings. However, Khloe Kardashian isn't a medical or health expert, so the follow may be impressive, but it's not necessarily supporting the validity of what the author is saying. Lastly, does the person have any endorsements? If yes, then who are they? When did the company or person endorse them? What did they say? It's also important to do a little research here, because I've actually been on websites where the author claims that they were featured in the New York Times. This was actually true, but the feature was a negative review of their site, not exactly a shining endorsement. But the individual used that to their advantage and just stated very vaguely that they were featured on the New York Times, which is technically true, but it's deceiving to those who see it. Lastly, you can assess the accuracy or validity of health information online by evaluating the quality of the actual content. This may take a little more work than the others, but consider the following. Is the grammar and spelling correct? Typically, if there are pervasive grammar or spelling issues, then I encourage you to not trust the site, unless there is a clearly stated language barrier. Next, is the readability and vocabulary appropriate for the topic? For instance, if a blogger is trying to talk to her followers about the chemicals found in soda, but she isn't a food scientist, then you might notice that her use of scientific vocabulary may be awkward or not entirely correct. You can usually identify this concern by the comments left by other viewers, who may call out the individual on their lack of knowledge or their incorrect use of terms. It's also important to look for scholarly references that are relevant, appropriate, and clearly support the claims that the author is making. This is also true with any data or statistics that the author uses. Are they relevant, appropriate, and supportive of the claims? Too many times we see people share or retweet statistics or graphs on social media that are later called out for being misleading or inaccurate. Most of the time this happens because no one really bothered to actually fact-check the stats. Next, see if you can find a date for the content. Is it up to date? If someone is discussing medical breakthroughs and referencing a 1990s research paper, then their claims might be a bit outdated. It's also important to consider whether the author's statements are objective, or if they have a clear bias, did they clearly state that bias? For instance, if a doctor is posting a comment about recommended medications and says, "I recommend you take the pharmaceutical Remicade for your rheumatoid arthritis because it's the best treatment I've seen on the market today," that is a lot different than saying something like, "I recently talked with a sales rep for Remicade, and I believe it's a good option for your rheumatoid arthritis for the following reasons." In the second statement, the physician clearly states his interaction with the sales rep, which could in fact influence his opinion on the medication. Lastly, it's also important to fact-check any critical health information before acting on it. For instance, is the advice or statements consistent with trusted health sources? These can be sources like the World Health Organization, National Institutes of Health, FDA, ONCHIT, top medical journals like NEJM or JAMA, or reputable health organizations like Mayo Clinic or Johns Hopkins. In summary, online health communities like search engines, social media, and members-only sites can offer a variety of benefits for users. But there are also concerns about the easy access to so much health information on the internet, which is why it's always a good idea to question the accuracy of this content and the sites, which you can be doing by assessing these 3 categories we just discussed: website design, author credibility, and quality of content.